Welcome to another episode of Tomes and Tunes. This is episode 54, and I must confess that I made a mistake here on this episode 54 because my guest today is Clementine. She is from the Netherlands, and I'm so excited to connect with her. We met a couple of months ago through Folk Alliance at their online virtual conference this year, which was very, very fun, and it was accessible to folks from all over the world. So I don't know if I would have ended up there or if Clementine would have ended up there, but in any case, we both ended up there because it was virtual, and during COVID, it was a blessing to be able to do that. The mistake that I made was that I didn't realize that she goes by just one name, Clementine, and I think that she is in she is like sitting at the table both because of that first name but also because of her talent with other one-named artists that we know of. And so just nix off that last name when you're looking for her, just Clementine, and she'll have her website up. You'll see it. Anyway, this is a across the US travel with me, right? Here I am in Los Angeles, travel across the US, moving east, going through time zones later in the day, swim across the Pacific or the Atlantic, swim across the Atlantic, and then hop over onto Europe. And now we're on another continent, and we're going to bring Clementine right in. Hi.
Hi, Arielle.
How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for asking, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so happy to
So,
have you. It's 11 p.m., I think, by you. Is that right? Something like that?
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is. Yeah.
And 11 p.m., but it's still the same day as me here in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
Thursday, for a little while
Yeah,
longer. How
it
was your
is.
Thursday?
It was good. I came home 3 a.m. from a performance at National Radio, so that was fun and
Yeah.
like being out of the house with a good excuse was very nice. And then, well, I have a day job as well, so I went to the college where I work
Yeah.
and met with my students to help them with their internship.
So you got home at 3 a.m. and then you went to work during the day, and then late
Yeah.
at night, here you are, 11 p.m., here with me, Tones and Tunes. That is an epic, epic day. I'm curious about that radio show. What did you do? What was it? Can you tell a little bit about it?
Yeah, it was, well, I'm so bloody proud. They invited me. They had this they have this show, and they talk about the province of the Netherlands 1 week, and they invite an artist to talk about the province
Oh,
they live in and the songs they make. And
yeah.
so I did 2 songs and an interview, and it was so much fun. I stayed all night.
Well,
So they keep
can you tell
yeah.
what province do you live in? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I'm Dutch and I live in South Holland. So this is a complicated thing for foreigners. So
Yeah.
our country is named Nederland, the Netherlands, but because it's a bit, we keep it simple, so that's why we call it Holland. And then you have like counties. So the country is divided in counties, and you have North Holland, South Holland, Drenthe, Brabant, Zeeland. So there are a lot of pieces out there. So I'm living in the province county South Holland. So that's if you know Rotterdam, you
Yeah.
drive 45 minutes down south and then to the coast. And I live on this little island.
Oh, you're on an
Well, it
island.
used to be an
Okay.
island, yeah. But they um, stick two islands together and make it one. That's a Dutch thing. They just the half the country is below sea level,
Yeah.
so they manage the water to get it out. And,
Wow.
and that's a family history as well. My father's side is into dredging, so that's also a different
Yeah, well,
story.
I know from your bio, your bio is very watery, right? Like on your website, when I'm reading about you, I sense water. And you mentioned right at the
It's
very
all
beginning
over.
of your bio that your father was a captain, or a
Yeah,
captain of what kind of captain? I mean,
dredging,
it's okay,
dredging. Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So it goes back to my great grandfather. They live like in a swampy area. It's called the Biesbos. It's
Peaceful.
sweet water, but yeah, and it has these straw plants growing there, the
Uh-huh.
ginde, and they live from that
Like
material. Well,
like
anyway,
wild grasses.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And they would go into the swamp and do some dredging things with little boats, and it was very poor and harsh work. And so this was my grandfather was in a family with three boys. He was the youngest one, but he observed very well, and he said, "Well, why don't we make a hole in the boat so when the sand has to go out of the boat, you don't have to shovel it, but you
Mm.
just split the boat, it falls down, and then you can do it in half the time." So my great grandfather was like an inventor, and he invented all these things, and it brought the whole community of this dike. They all lived on this dike.
Yeah.
Gave a lot of prosperity in this village, and well, uh, they it, nowadays they are big companies dredging and solving problems all over the world. So
So that was
it's
your
really cool.
grandfather that did that.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. I love that story.
yeah.
Um, and and before the show, you and I were talking. Was it your grandfather that you were mentioning regarding this book that you were going to talk about? I might be jumping the gun because usually we don't talk about the books right away, but I'm curious. It's the same
Oh,
person, right?
sorry. Yeah, yeah, true.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's just go
yeah,
into it.
because
Let's just go into great
just
stories about
straight
Granddad.
to the
Come on. Story time from Holland.
so well, you asked me to like share like English literature, but I don't read that much literature, English literature. But it made me think of a few books people wrote about my grandmother. Um, so my great great grandfather, that's what we were talking about. My grandmother lived on the same dike. They kept living there on the same spot. And the Biesbos was like a maze. So people would lose direction, get lost, and weren't found again anymore. So it's like New Orleans, kind of swampy, without the Spanish mosh. That's the kind of the scenery. And she knew the way, so they would travel with canoes to
Mm.
one city to the other, and they knew the little creeks, and then the war came, and
World War II.
uh, yeah, yeah, and the underground people, they formed a group, and they used their canoes to transport people like Jews or people who were hunted by the Germans, to get them from one place to another, to the safe and free zone at the other side of the river.
Right.
So she was, really shot at night, trying to save these people. And there was one Jewish doctor, and he fell in love with my grandmother, and he wrote a book about her.
Oh.
Yeah, but I cannot read it for you because it's in Dutch.
I
Huh?
want you to read it.
I'll I'll ask my uncle, and
Yeah.
I'm collecting all this information now, and I
Yeah.
actually want to write a song or something about it. It's kind of too cool to not
Yeah,
to.
it's very interesting history. I remember when I was growing up, my family is Jewish, and I went to Hebrew school from the
Oh
time
no,
I
I didn't
was,
know.
yeah, and so I went to Hebrew school
Okay.
from the time I was, you know, forever, as long as I can remember. And so we had a lot of
Yeah.
Holocaust education. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so
There's
much, but
yeah.
there were different ways that we were taught the history, and some of the ways, some of it was strict, history books, but some of it was literature, and some of it was, movies, and sometimes
Mm-hmm.
plays, songs, visual art, all kinds of different ways. But you're
Mm-hmm.
reminding me of a book, and I don't remember the name of it, but it always I think it was it. I probably read it around the same time that I fell in love with the band Aha out of Norway, because one of the things I loved about the book was that the people in the underground were helping the Jews to escape to, I think it was Denmark, though. I don't know if it was the Netherlands or
Mm-hmm.
Denmark, but it was this whole like underground
Oh, it's the
chain
same
of
area. Yeah.
people helping those who were being
Other
persecuted by
people.
the Nazis to escape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know.
And you know what's funny is that
Awesome.
I had another guest here on Tomes and Tunes a few months ago, Nikki O'Neill. She is Swedish,
Mm.
part Swedish, and she lives in Chicago now. She was living in Los Angeles for a long time, but her family has a similar history to the story that you just told as well. So that's very
Whoa.
interesting.
That's amazing. That's what what songs do when you
Yeah,
play. You tell your story on stage, and people come after the concert to you, sharing
that's
their
right.
stories and their experience. That's just amazing. So
It's the
powerful.
best. Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah. I
Um,
was um, I was on. Well, actually, I don't say this to brag, but it's the way it is. But at my grandmother's house, they donated to the community to make a museum out of it. And they
mm,
had this anniversary, and they asked me to play there. And I played the song Katrina Waves. A friend of mine
yes,
wrote it.
yes. I wanted to
And
ask you about this one.
okay, okay. So one of the workers of my, where the company where my dad worked, and it's one big family. But he came to me and he said, with tears in his eyes, and he said, "We were there. We were in New Orleans discussing how to manage the water differently to prevent this, and they wouldn't do it because it was too expensive.
Right. Yeah.
They didn't want to invest, and he was like tears in his eyes,
Yeah.
like yeah, yeah.
It's interesting
I
to me
didn't
the
know.
intersection between, I'm sure all over the world, but especially in the United States, the intersection between climate change and race
Mm.
and socioeconomic advantage and all of these things,
Mm.
and what towns and what states and what cities are considered valuable, to invest in that kind of
Mm.
infrastructure protection for
Yeah,
the people, and what kind of
yeah,
towns and states are not, whatever the government or whoever is
yeah,
funding, just says, well, we're not going to invest
yeah,
in that. Yeah, and those,
yeah,
the flooding from Hurricane Katrina was extensive and obviously disastrous. It was, um,
yeah.
you know, tragic. And
Mm.
before it happened, for a long time, it was just a matter of time when it would happen. And since it happened, it's sort of a matter
Yeah,
of time again. That's interesting that
yeah, yeah,
that that world of Hurricane Katrina kind of entered your world, with this infrastructure that you're talking about for your family's industry.
yeah, yeah. Because the swamp area in the Beach Boys was uh, made by a flood, a Katrina, I think it's called the Saint Elizabeth flood, like hundreds of years ago, and now it's the way it is, like the way it is now. And in
Wow.
1953, there was a big flood here in south of Holland, and the dike broke down, so the water came in, and they didn't have phones, so people were like fleeing on the roofs, and it was winter and was just a disaster. Um, um, so I sang a song after the storm about it. And actually, nobody really talked about it, but the government underestimated the problem. So, um, and because of the lyrics, the politicians after me, I had to. There's an airplane. People are traveling again. That's good. Um, so I totally lost my story right now. Uh, darn.
I just try to mute
Help me,
myself
Ariel.
when there's the airplane going over. But you were saying that the lyrics of the something about the lyrics of the song that the government had underestimated. Um,
Yeah, and I sent in the song. I didn't wrote it. A friend of mine wrote it, and but he wrote it for Katrina to raise money for the survivors and the. Um, but because we had a flood too, and it was so, it somehow ended up linked to 1953 here, and because of the lyrics, because in the lyrics they was like the government didn't do anything, like something like that.
oh, yeah,
But our prime minister was on the front row, and they acknowledged that they had to, yeah, no, had to do something. And then a survivor after the concert came to me and he said, like, nobody ever said it, and now it's acknowledged.
yeah.
So that's when I realized how powerful song can be. Maybe I underestimated it. Um, yeah.
Yeah, a friend. I was talking with a friend the other day. I played my first in-person show in 15 months on Monday on the summer solstice. There was a festival actually all around the world. It was called Make Music. I don't know if you had this festival where you live, but they had a branch of that festival here in Los Angeles, and a friend came out to see me play, and afterwards he helped me carry my gear back to the car, and I opened up the trunk of the car, and then for like another hour the two of us were just sitting in the trunk of the car with the trunk open, we're just sitting inside it, which is really funny because he's like over 6 feet tall, and I'm pretty tall myself, and here we are just sitting in the trunk of the car like we're two little kids, but we were talking for a long time, and one of the things that he was saying about my music was he was saying that it moves him, it moves people, and I've been thinking about that word ever since.
Yeah.
Who is it? Hosier? Do you know that artist Hosier? He had a song called "Take Me to Church," which is a great song, but he has another song called "Movement," and he plays with that idea of move, like when something moves you, and when you're moved, literally like emotionally moved, but it moves you to action, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah, I get it.
and I love that story that you just told, because you're talking about how your song moved someone emotionally, and that emotion moved them to taking some kind of action, and moved someone else to thank you because they felt recognized and seen, and
Yeah, they copied they copied the lyrics in their speeches. So
oh
that
yeah,
was like
yeah.
the,
And that's, I mean, it's interesting because I feel like nowadays in pop culture we're not very good at subtlety. Everything is like really on the nose and like obvious, and it's like it's considered edgy and maybe good. If you're edgy, it's good. And the way that something is
yeah,
edgy, a
yeah.
lot of times is if it kind of says something blatantly, but
Mm-hmm.
through that, I think it's easy to forget that art is really powerful, whether it's obvious and edgy, or just telling a story and observing and noticing and recognizing, and um, and coming back to that word move, in English. Do you have, in Dutch, do you have a word that's like that means what I'm talking about, where you're moved emotionally, but you move in space too? Do you have a word that's the same word?
No, I don't think so. It's called beweging.
Beweging.
In beweging komen. Get in motion.
Oh, so it's specific to
But
emotion.
that's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like movement.
Yeah.
Emotie is emotion.
Emotion. We're
So
having a
it's
language
different. It's a
lesson
different
today.
word. Yeah.
I actually had, most of my family is from Eastern Europe, except I also have a branch of my family that is from the Netherlands. Um, and
No
I've never been
way.
there. Yeah, I've never been there, but I hope to get there.
Where? Where from?
I think Amsterdam.
Oh, cool.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. Like, but you never been there?
No, not yet.
Okay, we have to arrange that.
We do.
We do.
Yeah, how does your April
Yeah.
2022 look?
Ah! That's my birthday.
I'll come for your birthday. What kind of cake would you like me to bring?
Chocolate.
You got it. We're gonna sing happy birthday. We'll sing it in two
How
languages.
did
I
you
love
know
it.
that?
I didn't know that. I love it. So I'm curious, Tomes and Tunes, of course, this is the 57th episode, and this was a COVID baby. It came out of my realization that one of the things that I love about being in, our world of singer-songwriters and music, I love so many parts of it, but one of the parts that it took till COVID for me to really understand was I love talking with other songwriters. I love talking with musicians. I like us sort of before the show went live, you and I were talking about how it's such a jungle trying to figure out how to make a career in this, and it's like we have this little machete and we're hacking away and we're trying to carve a path, and we work all day long and we're carving and we're working up a sweat and we're very tired, and then at the end of the day we look up and we're like, well, I got a centimeter further.
To where?
To where, right? What direction? I don't know.
To where?
But that little square that I was standing on is slightly bigger now, and I'm not even sure I'm going in the right direction. And
No.
so this show, Tomes and Tunes, was, this is why I like talking with songwriters in a way, because we're all doing that and we're all trying to figure it out. And it's like, well, if I hear about how you're doing it and I hear about how someone else is doing it, then it kind of gives me a clue as to maybe how should I, where should I put my efforts. But in any case, here we are, though, a year later since the beginning of Tomes and Tunes, and, I played my first show live on Monday. You just got back at 3 this morning from playing a radio show. What are things feeling like right now for artists or in general regarding COVID? Like, what is life like over by you?
Well, we just came out of a lockdown, and it's been like a really long one. I think almost a few industries almost get bankrupt. So it's been like it's sad, you know. Um, I can get around pretty easy because I've got like a lot of irons in the fire. But if you have to live just from music, the only thing left was playing live, which would pay for artists, and that was taken away too. So I do see an expanding market in film and like sync advertisements and YouTube syncs. That kind of
So for the
that's a whole new
non-musicians
world.
watching, you're talking about music for film and television and advertising, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you for yeah. So it I do think I studied technology when I was young, um, and that was like well 20 years ago. I'll confess, and then I thought that was they were talking about cross media, like connecting newspaper and television and all sorts of media corresponding with each other. And then after like 15 years, nothing really happened. And now with COVID,
Right.
people had to explore, go explore, and well, explore those paths. So I think a lot of good things are happening too. And now we can look what are we going to keep and what we're going to,
Yeah.
go back to the old normal and what can we keep from the new one.
Yeah.
And so that's quite interesting, I think.
Yeah, like we had the technology, we had the ability, but we didn't have the need. And COVID created the
Yeah,
need, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, well, we've
yeah,
already built this road and we've already built this road, so now we just need to take a patch cable, or,
right.
patch cord and connect the two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's not good to really fully rely on it, but
yeah. Well,
there are good
now
things too.
I have a couple of shows booked this summer, and the venues are doing a sort of hybrid thing where the
Yeah.
I'm playing a show in July and it's going to be at the club. It's a for those of you who are local to where I live, Southern California, it's in Ojai at the Ojai Underground Exchange on July 16th. And I'm going to be playing with a few other women singer-songwriters, Manda Mosier and Pi Jacobs and Celia Chavez. I don't know if you know any of them, but Pi was on the show a couple of weeks ago. And um, we're going to be in the club performing, and there will be an audience of some amount. I don't think full pre-COVID capacity, but the show is also going to be live stream broadcast. So there'll be that live stream. So it's going to be. I haven't ever done a show like this before, where it's this hybrid, performance. It's like, hi, mom, I'm on
I
TV.
think it's fun.
Yeah. Have you done anything
Yeah.
like that, or do you have
Well,
any?
I know artists. Yeah, yeah. I was, I've got like a few theaters, and I've got nice contacts with them. So I was like
Yeah.
one of the first artists to try it out.
Yeah.
I even helped them finding like the technique behind it because everything was sold out because everyone wants to stream that in those weeks, so
Yeah.
you couldn't get it. Um, but I think it's fun if you have audience in front of you where you can respond
Yes.
on, because if you only stream, you're kind of are talking to yourself or in, it's weird.
Yeah.
But if we had an artist and he was booked in a venue with like 110 seats, but they had to go live streaming, and they sold tickets streaming, and they sold like 350 tickets. So for him, it was a good,
Yeah.
it was a good one.
Yeah.
And some others, there's another artist he just went into nature and he organized walks, music walks, with his guitar, and people could join him. So he has like a group with 1,000 people going into the woods and into the sand dunes and just stop at a tree, and he would sing, and everyone would be outside. I did a photo shoot in like a beach area, and everyone was of course outside because everyone has the same idea, and there was like this natural festival going on because I was doing the photo shoot, but a lot of other artists were doing the same. So there was a classical opera singer, and there was a singer-songwriter guitar player, and it was like awesome. Not paid, but
Right.
it was awesome.
Spontaneous festival. I love that idea.
Yeah,
Oh, can you hear me?
yeah.
Did I just change something? Can you
Yeah.
still hear
No,
me?
no, you're fine.
Okay, I kicked
Yeah.
my um I love that idea of the woods, the going into the forest and, or doing a nature hike of some sort and stopping and playing some music along the way. Very intriguing.
Yeah, it's but the Netherlands is very small, so we have it's like the size of a city in the US, like in sizes, and we've got like 18 million people. So they manage the how do you say that? You know, the cities and the nature and they they manage that. So and then there were just too many people in
Right.
nature, so they banned us out.
So
It
then it was
was
the
forbidden
lockdown
to go
again.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you do you plan to, so you just came out of lockdown. Do you have plans to perform in person?
Yeah, well, I didn't really stop doing it. Of course, some things were cancelled, but other things came back. So I
Oh,
performed for elderly homes in front of the windows,
oh yeah.
and uh, it was very special to do, with very emotionally heavy, because you see a lot of pain behind the windows, and people were sharing their stories. So that's what I did, and some people asked me to play on their funerals, or yeah, well, yeah. Um,
I feel like that's such a
so
that's such a COVID. Wow, that's such an interesting thing. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
I didn't knew I was capable to do that because, you know, I cry fast,
Yeah.
and if you're booked to do something like that, it's not about me, but it's about the family, and you know,
Yeah.
you don't want to
Yeah.
attract all the energy of attention to you because you're with your emotion crying.
Yeah.
That was uh, uh, a piece of exploring, but it actually went uh, well, so I kept doing that.
Yeah. I'm the same way. It's very hard. Yeah. I've never. That's not true. I did sing at a
Yeah.
memorial once, and
Wow.
I remember crying a lot at the memorial, but I must not have been, during the time that we had to be singing, because of course you can't sing and cry at the same time. It's just impossible.
No, no. It's like I was a week pre-crying.
Hmm.
Days before, I just cried my eyes out, and
Right.
then I was good to go. It was perfect.
Wow. So,
Yeah, it's very special.
so now, now that you've come out of lockdown, how is the vaccination rollout going by you? And do you foresee, performing outside of funerals and elderly homes? Do you see yourself getting back up on, in music venues or music, on stage, this
Yeah,
summer,
I
or do you
do.
think you'll
Yeah, they're already
wait?
asking. Well, was it the theater already asking me to like, can you come next week? You know, so I
Ah,
was like,
great.
no, because it was
Yeah.
very busy last year.
Yeah.
Because all my students were, I had to reinvent their internship and then
Sure.
reschedule a whole tour because I do this for other people as well and my
Yeah.
own tour. Um, actually wanted to go riding and spend more time in learning the guitar, and so that's what I'm going to focus on in summer.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, if something good's come along,
Yeah.
I do that. So yeah, there are festivals going on, and people want to go out. So
Yeah.
if I want to, I can go out and play.
Yeah. I love it.
Um, it goes very well in the Netherlands. So the hospital ICs is going just really dropping fast, and actually the lockdown is over. You do have to have your mouth if you cannot keep the distance, just to be sure. But um, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've been over to the United States, right? Am I right that
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah, a lot
you
of times.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think have you spent time in Nashville?
I did. I recorded my album in
That's right.
Omnisound.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to Kansas to Folk Alliance like 5 or 6 years ago, and I couldn't play the guitar quite yet, just a few chords. But I thought, well, I couldn't bring the whole band because that was too expensive.
Yeah.
I do have a whole band, and I play with a lot of really really good musicians. So I was like, well, you do the guitar, you do the violin, and I'll just sing and do the marketing. That's enough.
Yeah.
um, so and that was the first step to the US and get to know people. And there I met Wyatt Easterling at the elevator, and he said, "Well, I want to go to the Netherlands." I was like, "Oh yeah, I can I can arrange that."
That's the way it happens at Folk Alliance,
And
right? You
then
meet someone at the elevator.
that's the way it goes. 3 a.m. And then, well, he came over. He called me. He said, "Well, I've got time within 2 months. Can you get me a tour, or arrange something?" I was like, "Yeah, I suppose so."
Yeah.
But one thing I want to, I don't have to. You don't have to give me anything. Just I want to sing with you. That's the deal. He said, "Yeah, yeah, that's fine. That's fine." So we did these performances together, and he was like, "You've got a special voice. I would love to produce you." And so he did. So I said, "Well, arrange it then." So he took me to Nashville and produced my album.
I love it. I
That's
love that exchange. That's perfect.
Folk Alliance magic.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. We're still friends, exchanging tips and tricks, and we're trying to get him over here in August, end of August, and I'm trying to get him worthwhile performances. So I'm working with the theater, so maybe he can perform there, and the festival on an island,
Yeah.
which is really special. Um,
I
working
love
on
it. I love it. That's amazing. Well, to bring
Yeah.
this back to tomes and tunes, because it's about books and music, and of course we've been talking about music this whole time, plus some stories, of course, from your family. But you had also mentioned in the green room beforehand, you mentioned Tom Sawyer, which I thought was interesting, going back to the Mississippi and the floods and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. As a child, I read Tom Sawyer. He really intrigued me in many ways. Um, uh, Huck Finn too.
Yeah.
And so it, I was, and there was a lot of life lessons in there.
Totally. Yeah.
So I choose that one.
Yeah. Do
Actually,
you
yeah.
was there any, I forgot to ask you beforehand, but was there any particular passage that you wanted to share, or any quote or anything?
Yeah, well, let's see. I've got it here in front of me. Let's see. Um, well, he was. Um, he had to paint the fence from Aunt Molly, and he didn't want to. He was like, "Nah," and then he was pretending to like really like the work. And then other kids from the block, they were like, "Nah, you have to, I'm going fishing, and you have to paint the fence. That's not fun." He was like, "Oh no, it's fun." And that's how he um, get all these kids doing his job. And I'm trying to find the
I remember that
what it was.
scene.
I c- it was pretty cool. It really stick to me.
Did you
And
read it
there's
in
another
English, or did
story.
you read
I
it
cannot
in
find the.
Did you read it in translation or did you read it in English?
I think both, but it's like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So I but there's this other story about a fence, um, about a father and a son, and his son is really cursing a lot, and his father is like, you cannot do that, and he wants to explain why you cannot do that. So he was like, okay, kiddo, you take these nails and a hammer, and there's the fence, and every swearing word you said, you nail a nail into the fence, into the wood. So his son does that, angry. And then his father says, well, now you're going to say sorry about those words. So for every word, you have to pull out the nail. So that's what his son did. And now his dad said, look at the fence. You see all those holes. You can say sorry, but you can never take away the hole in someone's soul those words has caused. And that's what these life lessons I really love about this book, but also all the history and the location and the I should have marked the sentences. I'm sorry I didn't do that.
That's okay. I like your rendition of it. I've been reading
Cool.
lately. First of all, have you ever read Toni Morrison? Are you familiar with her? Song of Solomon.
No,
She's
no,
a great.
but I saw you.
You saw my post about the Dead Milkmen, didn't you? The Dead
Yeah, I
Milkmen.
did.
Do you know? Are you familiar with them? They were a
No,
punk rock
no, no.
band. They had a song in was it the 90s? Somebody help me out here. Called Punk Rock Girl, and I believe they were from like the Philadelphia area. And in any case, this book is not a punk rock book. Song of Solomon. Toni Morrison is one of the great American authors. She has just been absolutely celebrated, African American, and Nobel Prize winner. Just stellar, beautiful writing. And so I've been reading a lot of her work over the past, actually a lot over the past 15 months while we've been here. Here meaning energetically, literally here. Um, but I want to share just a little passage if I can find it. This is just about. I like the way that she looks very closely at things, and I really enjoy that. So she's inviting, or the main character, or not the main character, but a character is inviting these boys in to have soft-boiled eggs, and she says, she makes really good soft-boiled eggs. She says, "You ought to try one. I know how to do them right. I don't like my whites to move, The yolk I want soft, but not runny. I want it like wet velvet. How come you don't just try one?" She had dumped the peelings in a large crock, which, like most everything in the house, had been made for some other purpose. Now she stood before the dry sink, pumping water into a blue and white wash basin, which she used for a saucepan. Now the water and the egg have to meet each other on a kind of equal standing. One can't get the upper hand over the other, so the temperature has to be the same for both. I knock the chill off the water first, just the chill. I don't let it get warm because the egg is room temperature, you see. Now then, the real secret is right here in the boiling. When the tiny bubbles come to the surface, when they get big as peas, and just before they get big as marbles, well, right then you take the pot off the fire. You don't just put the fire out, you take the pot off. Then you put a folded newspaper over the pot and do one small obligation, like answering the door, or emptying the bucket and bringing it in off the front porch. I generally go to the toilet. Not for a long stay, mind you, just a short one. If you do all that, you got yourself a perfect soft-boiled eggs. So I love the way that
Wow.
it's like, I don't know, I've just never read. She writes she doesn't write a lot about food preparation, but in her books, whenever there is some kind of food preparation, I always appreciate the way that she describes it. So I wanted to share that.
It's a great tip. I'm
Yeah,
gonna. Thank you.
yeah.
I'll
Um,
remember that. I didn't know about newspaper. I
right.
really didn't.
Well, trying to think when is this taking place? I think around 1931, I think is when this story takes place. So, um,
Mm,
yeah, there you have it.
cool.
Um, Clementine, I'm trying to remember. Am I right that you and I met at the virtual conference, right? We didn't meet at the in-person conference
Yeah,
in New Orleans, correct?
true. Yeah, no, we didn't. I was there,
You were there.
but we didn't met, I think. Yeah, I
Oh, are
did.
you
Yeah.
planning on going to the next one in Kansas City next year?
Uh, I wasn't planning to go this year, and I did. Um, maybe, maybe. It depends.
Yeah,
Depends.
it depends.
But it's been good like the last 6 years, so
Oh,
it's like an addiction
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's good to see everyone, and the vibe is so good, and it's like really empowerment. Um, I really enjoy it, so
Yeah.
probably I will.
Well, would you be so kind as to sing a song for us today here?
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah.
I
What are
would
you gonna
love to.
sing?
Um, well, I'm gonna sing. Actually, I wrote it in Dutch first. It's called Als je wist, and that means if you'd known. And it's actually an answer about my first song. It's called Lost Child.
Hmm.
And I wrote that song because one of our family members went out of sight. We lose contact. So I wanted to have something in the world, like a beacon, for him to find us back. And that
Hmm.
was the song Lost Child. And then this song is saying, don't come too late, but people can be gone. So it's about self-reflection. It's about taking the step, get over your ego, and reach out and probably find out, you're not always right,
Hmm.
and don't lose precious time. Where you can, you could have had all these years of great new memories. Um, you know, if you stay angry and don't reach out and don't restore contact, you lose all of that. So
Did he
that's where
ever?
the song is about.
Did he ever come back?
Not yet. Not yet. But he's coming to an age that maybe he will start searching.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
And I think you
I
were
hope
gonna
so.
switch your
We're
headphones,
here.
right? So you could hear.
Yeah. Thank you for the tip. Yeah, for the reminder. Okay. So. Sorry about that. So, installing. I think I'm gonna switch you off because there's a delay going on. Uh, check. Oh, it's maybe there's like 3 or 4 seconds delay.
Are you still getting it?
There I am.
There I am.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Okay, I'm gonna.
I just lose these because
I just lose these
it's,
because
We're getting the echo now,
it's,
so I think maybe switch back to the original headphones.
just tell me if this is good.
just tell me if this is good.
It's not good.
Nothing.
It's
Uh-oh.
Nothing. Uh-oh.
It's echoing.
Well, maybe you can do like a song
maybe you can
first,
do
and I'll
like a song
figure
first,
out what-
and I'll figure out what.
Okay, so I just put Clementine on mute so that we're not hearing her. And Clementine, I put something in the private chat if you want to see that button. I don't know if she can hear me though, but we were getting that echo back and forth. So I think that I'm just going to put a little chat, put on the original headphones, the original sound, and turn off the speakers. And let's see if that's better for her. Okay, is that the original headphones?
Yeah.
Great, we don't have that. Oh, wait. Say something.
Test. There's an airplane.
Test. There's an airplane.
Nothing.
We're still getting that echo
Nothing?
now. Are the speakers off?
Yeah, the speaker is off.
Yeah, the speaker is off.
We're getting a repetition. No. We're getting an echo of everything that you say. It's coming back again.
Darn.
Yeah, we got two darns.
Maybe you can do a song first.
Maybe you can do a song first. You go first.
Okay, so I'm gonna mute Clementine's mic, and I'll play a song while she tries out her sound. And Clementine, I think you can hear me okay, right? Yeah, okay, so you can hear me. So while you're fixing that sound, try putting the headphones on that I think you're wearing them actually, the ones that we were talking with, and make sure that the logic, I guess, might have to be off. Any settings that you added for the song, just walk yourself back and put them back to the settings when we were just talking. So I wanted to play this song. I've played it before on the show. It's still pretty new, and I have a bass player and drummer coming over on Saturday. And we're gonna try this song together, so I thought I would play it here. And it's a little background of it. I did not write about the pandemic in any song exactly, except for this song. And the way that it came about in this song was that I was reading an article about something that is supposed to happen in the year 2029, and I found myself getting a little stressed about this future event. And then as I was writing the song about that future event, I had this realization that here I was sitting in the shed because, of course, we were in the middle of COVID, which was a pretty difficult time. And it's funny how sitting here right now during COVID, I was already getting stressed about the next possible disaster. It's amazing the human capacity to worry. So this is called Asteroids in Chaos. An asteroid is coming I read it in a magazine. It's gonna come incredibly close. Tall as the Empire State Building, chaos on the doorstep. I tell you, we should hide stockpiled jars of jelly. Clean the sleeping bag, stock up on wine. You say this could be our big chance. Hot glue and cardboard boxes, together we can build a rocket, and we can launch a rocket to the sky. Or we can dig a cellar to hide in. Maybe we just strike a balance, unroll the hammock, hold each other through the panic. Maybe it's a profit with a prize. Hark the herald angels singing when the rocket of the cosmos sways us. Love will save us from asteroids and chaos. Asteroids and chaos. The pasta shelves are empty. There's panic on the news. I'm crying in the front yard, thinking about everything we'll lose. I hear music from the house. You swing the windows open wide, raise two crystal glasses. Say today you'll pour in the good wine. You say if this is our last dance, then let's not waste a minute. If I get one wish, baby, you're it. We can launch a rocket to the sky, or we can dig a cellar to hide in. Maybe we just strike a balance, unroll the hammock, hold each other through the panic. Maybe it's a profit with a prize. Hark the herald angels singing when the rocket of the cosmos sways us. Love will save us from asteroids and chaos. And while we're alone together, I know what might make us feel better. We can launch a rocket to the sky, or we can dig a cellar to hide in. Maybe we just strike a balance, unroll the hammock, hold each other through the panic. Maybe it's a profit with a prize. Hark the herald angels singing when the rocket of the cosmos sways us. Love will save us from asteroids and chaos. Asteroids and chaos. Asteroids and chaos. So there we have Asteroids and Chaos. Thank you. I saw you swaying along.
Awesome. I did. It was beautiful.
No echo. You fixed the sound while I was singing. Awesome.
Well, actually, echo is on, so that's not good. I don't know what happened. I think maybe internet is not, it's too heavy or something.
Yeah, who knows? It's a mystery. It's a big mystery. All of the zeros and ones that are flying by. The fact that we can even be connected right now in this way, audio and visual, is pretty astounding.
It's unbelievable.
Well,
Yeah,
let's hear a song from you.
Yeah, well, so you can hear me now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but without the echo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I'm going to do this dry, no special effects.
Perfect.
But you can hear the guitar, right?
Yep.
That's you can hear it. Okay.
Welcome, it's barely readable on this foot-worn doormat of this abandoned home. The sunlight has woven the seasons with the wool that autumn's unforgivingly, that holds my childhood as a forgotten journal in its embrace. I'm strolling through the fallen remains, and it feels like just another passage in a book that fades. Trapped in a film that only exists in my mind, I'm staring at a dry glass of wine and ask myself, was life good without me? 'Cause if you'd known how fleeting it is, would it be different? If you'd known how fragile it is, would you have fought formerly, seen ahead of time, forgive earlier, embraced in time, give willingly, foreseen ahead of time, understood earlier, confessed in time, broken the silence with your heart, if you known how fleeting it is. The silence, for years the answer for proving ourselves to be right, and the pain loses its power and confess its mother a secret. 'Cause what you saw as your most precious possession is the memories that we share. And now I see your true colors. 'Cause if I'd known how fleeting it is, would it be different? If I'd known how fragile it is, would I have fought formerly, seen ahead of time, forgive earlier, embraced in time, give willingly, foreseen ahead of time, understood earlier, confessed in time, broken the silence with my heart. If I'd known how fleeting it is, if I'd known how fragile it is.
So beautiful. Your voice is just mesmerizing.
It came across a bit.
It did. You know, we
Thank
have,
you.
I mean, this whole technology is awesome and imperfect, and we're stretching the limits, you know, just by being connected from Los Angeles to Holland, but it's awesome. You sounded beautiful. Thank you. And I couldn't help but think as you were singing about
thank
how you originally wrote the song in Dutch and then you rewrote the lyrics in English, and that's I've done a little bit of that kind of cross-language translation, and it's such an interesting process to go through.
It is, and I didn't want to, you know, acknowledge that, you know, I was like, yeah, I can speak English, I can write in English, and then
I started to write in Dutch, and I was like, oh no, I cannot write in English. You know, it's to get into that deeper layer, in a deeper emotional layer. You really have to, you know. It's my native language. It's different than
Yeah.
a secondary language.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
sure is. Yeah, but I mean I love the word choice that you made. You know, I wish I could understand. I wish I could listen to the song in, you know, and understand it in both languages. But of course, I can only understand it in the English version. But the word choices were lovely. Yeah.
Oh, good. Because it's always a bit, you know, scary if a native speaker listen to it. Like, okay, maybe there's something weird going on there, but so it's good to hear.
Well, I do think it's interesting. I mean, there can be like a surprising turn of phrase when a non-native speaker is writing in your language. And I actually like that. I like it
True.
because it,
Yeah.
you know, it surprises you. It makes you hear it in a way that you wouldn't hear it typically, you know, the way that you wouldn't necessarily say something.
That's what art is. You know,
Yeah.
I've known this lady, and she could not see perspective. It was a thing in her eyes. She couldn't see. She was seeing the world flat, and I was seeing her paintings, and they were flat, like no perspective. And I was like, yeah, that's how she sees the world. So that's kind of cool. It's with
Yeah.
song the same, right?
Yeah, totally. Well, I want to say to everybody that you can find Clementine's songs, her music, and find out more about her through her website that is right there. But I'm also going to put it in the chat box for a second so that it will go out on in the chat afterwards. Clementine.fm. There we go. And I want to thank you so much for joining me today. This has been such a pleasure.
Well, it's you know, I thought it was an honor. I really thank you a lot
Yeah.
for inviting and having me and having this conversation.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I can't wait to continue it when I'm serving you chocolate cake for your birthday in April next year.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Let's
talk about that.
Okay, you stay right there. I'll see you in the green room, so you don't move. And I'll just say, I want to give a quick hello to Susie, and I saw Mark over there, and Charlie, hello. Nice to see you all. Thanks for chiming into the chat. And I will say that was such a lovely conversation, and even though we had a little bit of tech challenges, it doesn't matter. Her voice is just gorgeous. It just carries through, right? I feel like she could or she could sing in any language, and it wouldn't matter. We'd still completely understand what the song is about. Next week is episode 58 of Tomes and Tunes, and I'm going to be talking with Ken Holm. He is out here in the LA area, and so we're coming back onto this side of the world, and that's bound to be an interesting conversation. He's a great person, and I really enjoy his songs. So for me, what's going on, last 2 days of my blast off, my Patreon blast off, that is. And of course, Patreon is an ongoing thing. But in this first month, I just launched it 28 days ago. And so I am just building up to June 26th, which is Saturday, which is the 1-year anniversary of the release of my album, A Thousand Tiny Torches. Which is this. It was an album that took 10 years for me to make. I really love it. It was just an astounding collection of musicians and the producer Shane Alexander and the engineers that came together to make this record. I'm really proud of it, and feel like the best way to honor it is to keep writing music and move forward and get to working on the next album. Because as musicians, every album that we make moving forward in the future helps to keep the past albums alive, and I really love this one. I want it to stay alive. So I have launched Patreon. If you would like to join me there, sign up for just $3. That's it, and I will send you a special thank you note in the actual snail mail, and you'll get a one-of-a-kind blast off founding members sticker just for being a part of that. And then I'm going to hide away into my little Patreon corner, and just for my patrons, we'll be releasing the bootlegs and backstories of new songs. So that's something that's happening. I hope you'll join me there. And then if you're here in Southern California, I am playing on July 16th, which is a Friday, with Manda Mosier and Pi Jacobs and Celia Chavez of Petty Chavez, if you're familiar with that band. All three of these women are awesome. I love them. They're great songwriters. They're fabulous performers and just really wonderful people in general. So I'm excited to share the stage with them at the Ojai Underground Exchange on July 16th. And then mark your calendar, August 7th, I will be at Hotel Cafe. So mark your calendar for that one too. I'm very excited to be playing my first Los Angeles proper show post-COVID. Not post, but you know what I'm saying. So anyway, until we see each other again next week, take good care, and I will see you later. Bye.